and then we will come back to the panel. So, Mr. Carter?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about H.R. 261. H.R. 261 is the Undersea Cable Protection Act. The reason I introduced this bill was to address a redundant process that's impeding the deployment of subsea cables. The Department of Homeland Security has designated the cables as critical infrastructure, and when you think about it, they are. We rely on these cables more than any of us realize because they're the backbone of the internet and are critical for intercontinental communication and transactions and are necessary to support the increased data loads that are a product of the growth in AI, supercomputing, and everyday dependency on the internet. If you don't hear anything else I say, listen to this. It's estimated that in the financial sector alone, undersea cables carry $10 trillion of financial transfers daily. $10 trillion of financial transfers daily. Anybody who's read the news in the past 6 months knows our adversaries have been targeting these cables and cutting them in order to cripple the economic and national security of countries around the world. This underscores the importance of redundancy and resiliency on our own cables and the diversity of routes that are needed to ensure we limit our own vulnerability to such activity. The permitting process for subsea cables is robust and goes above and beyond to protect the marine habitat that is particularly near and dear to the hearts of members like me who are from the coast. I represent the entire coast of Georgia, so it is important to me. The Army Corps of Engineers, NOAA, state coastal commissions, and local agencies are all involved in a process that requires route planning coordination, multiple environmental reviews, and archaeological assessments to ensure the seabed floor and surrounding habitats are preserved and protected. I understand the importance of this process, and my bill does absolutely nothing to change that. What I'm looking to address is the additional special use permit process that prompts the secondary NEPA request, additional environmental reviews, and the delays that come with such a bureaucratic process in the instances where a submarine cable is being laid in a marine sanctuary. In some instances, the marine sanctuary came after the cables were laid, and they have to seek permission just to stay. The SUPs issued by NOAA are limited to 5 years, which is in stark contrast to the 25-year license they get from the FCC. It takes longer than 5 years to plan the laying of these cables, and as soon as you get your SUP, it's already time to start another environmental review. And we already know what the review will say, which is what they always say: subsea cables do not cause environmental harm. The investment to deploy these cables are significant and certainly expect a greater return on that investment than 5 years, and they deserve more regulatory certainty than this black box process. I'm told by folks in the subsea cable industry that marine sanctuaries are de facto no-go zones because of this regulatory uncertainty. And these sanctuaries are not just as rare as you may think. Over 400 miles of the coast of California is designated as a marine sanctuary. That's half the coast of the entire state, which also happens to be the most strategic place to lay subsea cables, given its position globally and its proximity to data centers. Limiting the ability to lay cables to less than half the coast of California and outside of sanctuaries throughout the United States limits the resiliency and the redundancy of these cables. This limitation increases the risk of external events like landslides, a ship dragging an anchor, fishing operations. These things do happen, intentionally or not. Would damage multiple cables at the same time and imperil our communications, which is detrimental to our national and economic security. NOAA has said that they are pausing the requirement for SUPs for these cables in marine sanctuaries for 2 years to determine a process going forward. However, the process will only address future marine sanctuaries, so the best case scenario is a patchwork of inconsistent rules depending on the sanctuary and when it is designated. My bill will provide regulatory certainty. You know businesses need that, regulatory certainty, now without jeopardizing any environmental concerns or responsibilities that have to be addressed before receiving a permit. This is a balanced approach to protect the marine environment while ensuring our national and economic security as well as our global leadership in technology. Once again, I want to repeat what I said earlier because I think it is very, very important. It's estimated then in the financial sector alone, undersea cables carry $10 trillion worth of financial transfers daily. This is important. Thank you very much for considering this, Madam Chair, and thank you for giving me an opportunity to address, and I yield back.
Thank you very